You think that if you earn more, you'll finally relax. Yet 4 out of every 10 people earning $500,000 a year can't make it to the end of the month, just like you. Let me explain it now with examples. There's a doctor in Chicago earning $380,000 a year. He drives a leased BMW, her kids go to private school, he eats almost every dinner out, and he has to pay $4,200 a month on her mortgage. On paper, he's well off. But in reality, he can't come up with $5,000 without selling something or borrowing. Look, in these first 15 seconds I want to ask you this: if you're also struggling to make it to the end of the month but you think I'll be fine if I just earn more, you might be trying to solve the wrong variable. Because this isn't an assumption. According to Goldman Sachs' 2025 report, 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. 40% of those earning over $500,000 say the same thing. Listen to what I'm saying a few times and let it sink in. 4 out of every 10 people earning $500,000 a year feel they have no financial security at all. In a single month, they earn more than many Americans earn in a year. And yet they carry the same financial anxiety as someone earning a tiny fraction of their salary. The assumption most people hold is this: income solves every financial problem. Reach a 6-figure salary, and the stress disappears. Pass $200,000, and your situation is secured. Cross $500,000, and money becomes completely irrelevant. The data, however, tells a completely different story. What you're witnessing is called the high-income poverty trap. People earn more, spend more, save the same percentage of everything, and wake up at 55 asking where it all went. The trap doesn't care how much you earn. It only cares how much you keep. This isn't about judging anyone's spending. It's about understanding a financial pattern that strikes millions of Americans who never see it coming because they assume high income means financial security. Let me show you exactly how the trap works, who falls into it, and how to tell whether you're already caught. The numbers reveal something counterintuitive about financial stress in America. According to research cited by many financial institutions in 2025, Americans earning $100,000 a year are more likely to report living paycheck to paycheck than those earning $50,000. In certain income brackets, higher income is linked to higher financial strain. A PYMNTS study found that 48% of those earning $100,000 or more feel they live paycheck to paycheck. Among those earning over $200,000, 36% report the same. Bank of America's analysis, which defined living paycheck to paycheck as spending more than 95% of income on necessities, found that roughly 20% of households earning over $150,000 fit that definition exactly. In 2025, nearly 24% of all American households meet this definition. These aren't people who can't do math. They're often highly educated, highly accomplished professionals in demanding careers. They understand compound interest and retirement projections. They're aware they should save more. The trap works not through arithmetic, but through psychology. When income rises, spending rises in direct proportion. This is called lifestyle inflation. And it happens so gradually that most people don't even notice. The $15 lunch slowly becomes a $25 lunch. The Honda becomes a BMW. The apartment that was enough becomes a house with a guest room nobody uses. Each upgrade feels reasonable on its own. You've earned it. You can afford it. The math technically holds. But while the upgrades compound, the savings stay flat. And once a luxury becomes a habit, Giving it up doesn't feel like returning to normal, it feels like deprivation. Research on actual millionaires tells a completely different story from how most high earners live. The classic study in The Millionaire Next Door showed that most millionaires don't look like millionaires at all. They live in ordinary neighborhoods, drive old cars, and very rarely display their wealth. Ramsey Solutions' research found that 94% of millionaires still live in middle-class or modest neighborhoods. A 2025 Empower study showed that more than 62% of everyday millionaires still budget, chase discounts, and stay away from extravagant lifestyles even after crossing the $1 million threshold. The typical millionaire has rarely spent more than $399 on a single article of clothing. About 60% live in homes worth less than $500,000. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. This creates a fascinating paradox. The people who actually build wealth don't behave like the people who look rich. The doctor driving a leased BMW looks richer than the plumber who drives a 10-year-old truck but has $2 million in investments. The authors of The Millionaire Next Door created useful categories: prodigious accumulators of wealth, and underaccumulators of wealth. A janitor earning $50,000 a year can have more savings than a doctor earning $700,000 a year. What determines that savings isn't income level, but spending habits? Their formula goes like this: multiply your age by your pre-tax annual household income, then divide by 10. That number tells you what your net worth should be. A 50-year-old earning $250,000 should have about $1.25 million. Those below this threshold are underaccumulators. Instead of building wealth, they consume their income. Most high earners fail this test badly. Charles Schwab's 2025 Modern Wealth Survey found that Americans believe you need $2.3 million to be considered rich. They believe you need $839,000 just to feel financially comfortable. Yet the median net worth of American households is about $193,000. The gap between what people think they need and what they actually have is enormous. And this is where psychology takes the stage. When you earn $400,000 but your net worth is $300,000, you don't feel rich. You feel behind. The hedonic treadmill keeps spinning, and you keep running just to stay in place. 63% of the participants in Schwab's survey said that being rich today feels like it takes more money than it did last year. The goalposts keep moving. Someone reaches a net worth of $500,000 and looks up to see that comfort now demands $839,000. They reach $1 million and discover that being rich now means $2.3 million. No amount ever feels like enough, because the definition of enough keeps shifting. Spending patterns lay bare how the trap works in real life. In 2025, the average credit card balance of high-income households earning over $100,000 was $12,760. According to many research sources, the top 20% of earners hold 35% of total U.S. credit card debt, even though they make up a smaller share of the population. This looks like a paradox until you understand how credit works differently at higher incomes. Low-income households use credit to survive. Because their cash runs out before the month ends, they finance necessities. High-income households use credit to keep up. They finance a lifestyle that technically fits their income but leaves no margin for error. Both end up in the same place, owing money to someone else, with interest piling up. According to Federal Reserve data, total U.S. credit card debt reached $1.277 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's the highest balance since tracking began in 1999, a 66% rise since the pandemic lows of early 2021. According to Bankrate's 2025 research, 36% of credit card holders earning $100,000 or more carry a balance from month to month. That's lower than in the lower income brackets, but it's also nowhere near the almost zero rate you'd expect from people on top-tier salaries. 61% of Americans with credit card debt have been in debt for at least a year, up from 53% the year before. Debt is becoming chronic rather than temporary, even for high earners. The fixed cost trap is especially dangerous for high-income households. When you earn $50,000, your housing cost is limited by what landlords will approve. When you earn $300,000, you qualify for loans involving far bigger numbers, while stretching your budget just as thin. A family earning $80,000 might spend $2,000 a month on housing. A family earning $300,000 might spend $8,000. Roughly the same percentage of both families' income goes to shelter. Both feel equally squeezed. The high-income family has more expensive problems, but the same fundamental lack of flexibility. Private school tuition, multiple car payments, vacation home costs, club memberships. These aren't frivolous expenses in the traditional sense. They're lifestyle commitments that, once set up, function like fixed costs. Pulling a child out of private school feels impossible. Selling the vacation home feels like failure. Downsizing the car feels like announcing to everyone that things aren't going well. The trap tightens precisely because rewinding the lifestyle is so hard. According to Clarify Capital's research, six-figure earners respond to financial pressure in telling ways. 47% delay their dream vacations. 31% put home renovations on hold. 26% postpone buying a car. 17% push back buying a home. These delays are a sign of something important. High earners sense that they're squeezed. But they haven't changed the underlying spending patterns that created the squeeze. The savings rate tells the whole story. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the U.S. personal savings rate was 3.6% in December 2025. Americans save about $3.60 of every $100 of their disposable income. At the pandemic peak in April 2020, the savings rate had climbed to 33.8%. Stimulus checks arrived, spending opportunities vanished, and Americans accidentally tasted what aggressive saving felt like. That money is gone now. This pattern holds across income levels, and that's the crucial insight. High earners save a bit more in absolute dollars, but their savings rates often stay just as anemic, because their spending scales with their income. Someone earning $75,000 who saves 4% saves $3,000 a year. Someone earning $300,000 who saves 4% saves $12,000 a year. The high earner saves 4 times as much, but relative to their income and lifestyle costs, they're equally fragile to any disruption. Compare this to the behavior of real wealth builders. The Millionaire Next Door research found that millionaires typically invest at least 15% of their annual income before paying for necessities. They pay themselves first. They treat saving not as a wish, but as non-negotiable. The difference between 4% and 15% compounds dramatically over time. After 30 years, the one who saved 15% has built serious wealth, while the one who saved 4% has probably accumulated a modest cushion that can't carry a comfortable retirement. The social comparison trap speeds up the process. The phenomenon researchers call lifestyle creep has always existed. What's changed is visibility. Social media shows everyone's vacations, renovations, and purchases in real time. The 2025 Goldman Sachs report explicitly pointed to keeping up with the Joneses as a driver of paycheck-to-paycheck living among high earners. Six-figure workers feel pressure to match their peers' spending, even when the math doesn't support it. This creates a strange dynamic where people in the top 5% of income feel financially inadequate. Because they compare themselves to the top 1%, or to the carefully curated social media versions of people who may be even more in debt than they are. The comparison is no longer just against the neighbors. It's against everyone in a feed filtered to show only the highlights. Discretionary spending data reveals where the money actually goes. According to Empower's data, food delivery spending rose 10.2% year over year, from $162.40 to $179 a month. Streaming spending grew 12.5%. Rideshare spending rose 7.9%. These are convenience categories. Each expense is small. Coffee chains, delivery apps, subscription services, nobody notices the gradual buildup. But $179 a month on food delivery is $2,148 a year. Add streaming, rideshares, subscription boxes, and premium apps, and the total drifts towards serious money that evaporates without providing any lasting value. The high-income version of this pattern involves bigger numbers, but the same psychology. First-class flights instead of economy, hotels instead of Airbnbs, restaurants instead of home cooking. Each upgrade feels small, but together they compound into a lifestyle that requires the entire income just to sustain. Research shows that millionaires spend differently. About 44% spend more on experiences than on luxury goods, but they're selective about which experiences matter. They spend on what they value and cut ruthlessly everywhere else. This selective frugality is what separates real wealth builders from high earners caught in the poverty trap. The regional dimension adds another layer. In Schwab's survey, San Francisco residents said you need $4.4 million to be considered rich. Southern California residents said $3.4 million. New Yorkers said $2.9 million. Living in high-cost areas inflates both expenses and expectations at the same time. A $300,000 income in Kansas City delivers a dramatically different lifestyle than the same income in Manhattan or San Francisco. Someone earning $350,000 in New York may genuinely feel financially squeezed, because their housing cost, taxes, and basic expenses swallow a larger share of their income than someone earning half as much in a lower-cost market. They earn coastal salaries and pay coastal prices, and that often cancels out the income advantage. The contrast with real millionaires is striking. Research consistently shows that 79% of millionaires are self-made and inherited nothing. Only 31% earned an average of $100,000 or more a year over their careers. Most built their wealth on modest incomes, through steady behavior over long stretches of time. 73% of millionaires never carried a credit card balance. They grasped that compound interest works either for you or against you, and they chose to stay on the right side of that equation. The average millionaire worked, saved, and invested for 28 years before crossing the $1 million threshold. Most didn't get there until around age 49. The road was gradual and boring, not dramatic and sudden. This timeline matters, because it reveals what the high-income poverty trap costs. Someone earning $300,000 who saves nothing for 15 years gives up their most valuable compounding years. Even if they start saving later, they've lost time that can never be recovered. There's a way out, but it demands uncomfortable choices. Breaking the high-income poverty trap requires facing a question most people avoid. What is all this spending actually for? The doctor earning $380,000 could save $100,000 a year if he chose to. He earns enough. He just spends enough to prevent it.
Choosing differently means accepting that the BMW could be a Honda. That private school might not be necessary. That eating out every night offers more convenience than nutrition.
That the house with guest rooms mostly impresses people who don't matter. These sound like judgments, but they're just trade-offs made visible. Someone who truly values private education and fine dining should spend on those things, but consciously, knowing the opportunity cost, not automatically just because that's what people at their income level do.
The high-income poverty trap isn't about deprivation. It's about intention. Most people caught in it never consciously chose their spending patterns. They accumulated expenses gradually, each decision was reasonable on its own, until their entire income was committed. Reversing the pattern means auditing every recurring expense and asking whether it still delivers value in proportion to its cost. Often the answer is no. Subscriptions go unused, square footage sits empty, cars go barely driven. Memberships provide status more than usefulness. The automation principle works at every income level. Saving what's left after spending doesn't work. Spending what's left after saving does. Someone earning $400,000 who automatically routes $120,000 a year into investments will build serious wealth no matter how they spend the remaining $280,000. They'll still live well. They'll just live slightly less well than someone earning the same amount and saving nothing. And the difference between those two people compounds dramatically over time. After 20 years of steady investing, the saver has generational wealth. The spender has lifestyle memories and minimal assets. The math is simple. If you earn $300,000 and save 30%, you set aside $90,000 a year before investment returns. At a 7% average return over 20 years, that turns into roughly $4 million. If you earn $300,000 and save 5%, you set aside $15,000 a year. The same return and timeline produce about $650,000. The difference is $3.35 million. That's the 20-year cost of the high-income poverty trap. This trap survives because people optimize the wrong variable. Optimizing for lifestyle means maximizing today's consumption at the expense of tomorrow's flexibility. Optimizing for wealth means accepting today's constraint in exchange for tomorrow's options. Neither is inherently wrong. But only one leads to the financial security that high earners assume their income is supposed to provide. A $200,000 income with a 30% savings rate builds wealth faster than a $400,000 income with a 5% savings rate. The math isn't complicated. The hard part is the behavior. 77% of Americans don't feel financially comfortable, no matter what they earn. 40% of those earning $500,000 live paycheck to paycheck. Total credit card debt reached an all-time high while incomes stayed near record levels. The evidence is overwhelming. Income alone doesn't solve financial problems. Only conscious choices about how much of your income you keep instead of spend create the security most people assume high income provides automatically. The trap is real. Breaking it is possible, but it requires accepting that more money was never the answer. What you do with money always matters more than how much you earn.